Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lisa DeMauro, and I am joined by my husband, Chris DeMauro, and we are the Talking Gravesend podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to celebrating William DeMayo's streaming series, Gravesend. Today, we are here to talk about Season 2, Episode 7. It's Sauce, not Gravy.
Yes, it is Sauce, not Gravy. It's a great title.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. The first time I heard somebody called Sauce Gravy was on The Sopranos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Gravy?
Gravy?
Of course, we grew up, my nanny called it Sauce.
Yes.
I never heard of Gravy.
Me either.
I like how he said, all right, we're going to get to that. So anyway, it's a fun episode. I want to jump right into it as always. But before we do, I just wanted to thank everyone for all their support. Thank you so much. Keep it coming. Like the show, share the show, leave us some comments, share us in your story. All of that stuff helps.
Give the podcast a rating.
Give the podcast a rating. We'll talk about that later. But we really need your support, and we appreciate all the support that you've given us thus far.
Definitely.
Okay, let's jump right in.
Okay. So the scene opens up with the politician that Caesar just gave Paulie the go-ahead to whack. He's walking out to his car, and in pulls a blue IROC.
Look at you with the cars. boy, I'm glad I wrote that right.
Yes, you wrote it for me, so thank you, honey. But a blue IROC.
It's an IROC Z.
And a Johnny Olivia, a Polly, comes out and with his automatic and lays the guy out.
Yeah, an Uzi, little 9 Uzi looks like.
I don't know these things.
So the IROC was hot. It had that nice blue, if you guys remember. You know, being a young Italian kid, I mean, IROCs were like in my dreams, right? That's all I wanted. I'll never forget the very first time I saw an IROC Z. I was on 95 on the way to Hampton Beach in the summertime, and it was a maroon one with the gold IROC on it. I was like, holy shit, what is that?
What is that?
And it had a couple of Italian kids in it with like freestyle music playing. So, you know, I was like, oh, man, I really like that car. So a hot car in the late 80s, no doubt.
I'm sure that set the tone for your life in a lot of ways.
It set the tone. I had a Camaro with I had a Berletta, an 81 Berletta with Z28 rims, and I used to pretend it was a Z28, but it wasn't because the front grille didn't have the same stuff. Anyway.
Wow. You know I love talking about cars, so let's keep going.
So the scene opens with Rosa, played by, of course, Fran Drescher. And Fran Drescher, I mean, we haven't really spoke about her. We didn't really get to it in the last episode, but what an amazing talent.
Yes.
Fran, it's number one, she almost steals like every scene that she's in this show and almost in everything that she does. Of course, you remember her from The Nanny, her own show. And what I loved her in was Spinal Tap.
Yes, you love that movie.
Well, she played, the other guy was Artie Fufkin. And
she was one of the managers.
She was Bobby Feechek or something like that. And she was kind of like the publicist for the band. She was so good in Spinal Tap. Remember they were talking about the album cover and she was like, you put a glove.
You can't put a glove.
So she was just, Fran Drescher's great.
We digress.
And by the way, I know Fran. I spent a little time with her, actually, with a client that I had in Boston a few years ago. She came to a party that we had. So anyway.
Old friends you may or may not remember.
Hey, Fran, how you doing? So anyway, she comes in, and they're talking. They're having the dinner that Niki promised that he would go to.
Yes.
And they're having the talk about Domnic, and she's talking about that she doesn't think that she's worried that Niki doesn't feel the same way as he used to.
Right, that he might think he's getting older, and that, you know, she assures him that everyone in the neighborhood still loves him and that he's just as strong as ever. Here we have it to watch.
We'll take a little watch.
Can I talk frank to you?
And she just talks about how she says things that others are afraid to say to him.
Because she's his sister. Rosa's his sister.
Yeah, he's like, you're the only one.
Dare say. Okay. Say it.
Things change.
I'm worried that you think you are too old, that you're not the same guy that you were when you became boss of this whole damn town.
It's only 25
Like I said,
years.
they've got good chemistry together.
Things change. Hello?
They're really professionals.
I know, and a lot of that.
I really believe that she's his sister.
I do too. And the caring is there, and I get him being like, I don't want to deal with what you're telling me right now, but I have to
He's
listen
like,
to
God damn
her,
it, my sister.
Yeah,
My
no,
sister.
it's a really good exchange, and Fran does a great job as well as Armand, and it's also kind of furthering some of that established that we were talking about from his backstory, and I guess everybody's pushing their people in certain directions in this, steering them, if you will.
But you learn a bit about her character during that discussion, because he mentions to everyone that she she was the only one that visited him every weekend when he was away.
Even when I told you not to.
Even when he told her not to, and
She still came.
and she's one of the only people that doesn't listen to him.
So she's got a lot of sway, right? And there's the relationship reminds me a lot of Godfather 3, right? With Michael and oh God, what's the sister's name? Why am I blanking out right now? Connie. It reminds me of a little bit of that relationship too, where the sister is propping up the brother that's getting older and struggling with that age.
Yes.
What a good observation, Chris. Anyway.
Amazing. Don't worry, Jeff, older brother. I'll prop you up when you get all old.
I know she wants to fucking push you down the stairs. What are you kidding me?
Hope you don't fall.
So now we move to 541 on the timeline, and this is a great scene. We're going to play it. And it's just
it's Rosa again. Oh, she just has such gravitas as she's walking up. I mean,
she
look
really
at her.
does. And so she's going. We've got Carmen Pastore. Carmen, what am I saying here? Garry Pastore. This is Domnic and his crew. And I'm sorry I don't have either of these other fellas' names. I really should get that for the next episode. But Fran really walks up and just sizes everybody up in this. So just take a look. And then
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
And she gets him too because she has the history.
Nice to see you.
How you doing?
What are you doing in Gino's
They have to
Steak
show her
Spot,
this
Dominic?
we're talking about the foods. Like, what are you doing eating Chino? Everybody knows Pat's.
That's true.
How you doing? How's your brother?
Nikki's great.
I heard a rumor that Nikki buy you a little house down in Florida. You
Yeah.
get to go?
Nah, it's not really for me. You know, I like staying in the neighborhood, checking on the shops, making sure everything's going good, keeping an eye on things, you know.
A good Philly girl, true and true.
That's
True
me.
and true.
Yeah. You know we went to high school together.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Only you dropped out, right?
Only you dropped out.
He's like, oh,
How you doing,
thanks.
Vinny?
Thanks. And then look at this. I like how she
Rose.
steps
She's
to
like,
it.
all right.
She let me square off with you.
Just trying to enjoy this cheesesteak
He's
sandwich
uncomfortable
here.
right away.
Yeah, I remember all those times you used to come to see Niki, and he'd always help you out, right?
Yeah, and then he looks.
And then she's like, why are you looking at him? You can look right here. I really like that.
So, I mean, she's just giving these guys shit, and she's just like showing them that, you know, she's paying attention. And when she walks away, he goes, "Umbatsa strega," which I think is just hilarious, calling her a crazy bitch. So it's just a funny episode. Another great performance by Fran, by Garry. And we got to get these other two fellas because they do a great job as well.
They do.
So back at the boatyard, it's a very early morning, and Sammy's walking in to find Benny. And they have quite a long talk. And I have this, and we're going to watch a bunch of it. Really a nice scene. Let's see if we can see.
Hey, Benny.
So the interesting thing about this scene is that we know that
What are you
William and
doing
Kristen
so
are
early?
father and son.
I was by the boats. Nothing like the smell of salt water to start the day.
I know. I come here real early sometimes to watch the sunrise.
I caught some great sunrises when I was in Florida. You miss being there?
There are things I miss about it, but it's not good for me there.
Why not?
You know, he's causing trouble down there,
Issues at
fighting.
home with my dad. Let's just say he's a very odd man.
That
to
Spanish
please.
guy was trying to buy weed.
Italians, they have hard heads sometimes and have a habit holding grudges amongst family.
Facts.
Are you close with your parents?
I was very close with my parents. My mom, she passed away. My dad, he don't speak to me no more.
That's too bad. May I ask why?
How does your
I
dad
like how
feel
we
about
skip
you
through.
hanging around your
No,
Uncle
you may
Mikey?
not ask why.
No, well, he's saying, well, how does your dad
Like
feel
that.
about
When
you
I
hanging
went
out
on
with
my
your
Yeah,
uncle?
job,
well, he's not
I was
answering that
bossing
though.
one time.
I know. Charlie Sanson. He's a legend.
So this is a great scene, and it's a great scene because it's Christian and William not being father and son.
Correct.
And Christian's talking about his father's a really hard person to please, and I thought that was kind of a fun play,
Yes,
right? And I
yes.
would imagine that was a very fun scene for Christian to film that. And then Benny goes on to give some really good advice, and we don't have it on here, but and I made a meme about it that actually people really like, and it's the quote that he says is that anyone, I
Yes.
mean anyone who you feel is envious of you, you've got to cut them out of your life immediately.
Yes.
And then he also says to him, he says, you got to make the best out of every situation. And when things go bad around here, which they will, you got to make the best out of it. So remember that. So it's all really good information and quite frankly, extremely true to life.
Yes, yes. So now we cut to Jimmy Beans in the driveway. He comes in and he's quite distraught. I really like Jimmy Beans. You know, his character reminds me of someone that would be good at softball for some reason. He looks like he'd be a really good softball coach there. But Jimmy Beans is all distraught, and he's yelling because they just blew up the candy shop. So I think we have some.
No, we don't. I'm sorry. I was just looking for it, Lisa. I didn't mean to distract you there. Yeah, he comes in and he starts yelling at everybody. And he says, "You hear what I said? They blew up the candy store." And his guy goes, "Oh, geez, we just got the milk and bread delivery. Why couldn't the milk and bread delivery come after they blew up the shop?"
Yeah, and he's like, you know what? And that's the same guy that made the comment about why did we have to beat up Lenny? And he's just like, you know what? I had enough of you. And he just beats the crap out of him.
It's just Jason is the kid's
he
name.
He hits him with the trash can. So that I don't know. Here I am sick again. That made me laugh.
Yeah, he beat the crap out of him in the driveway. So then we go
Poor
back.
guy.
We're in Lewisburg prison, and we see Charlie playing cards, and they're talking about how he's getting out. And he says, you know, where are you going to go first? Where's going to be your first place to go and eat? And they bring up Benny and how Benny's got an after hours, and he's doing really well. So kind of bringing Charlie
Everyone's
up to speed.
talking about food in this episode.
Yeah,
A lot of discussion around subs and lunch.
So then at 12 minutes and 10 seconds, we cut to Santo, and he's back in one of his wire rooms where all the guys are making bets, and he's telling them, hey, but the top 6 guys are going to Rayo's with me. I got a table for 8, me and my gumad. He calls it a gumara with different dialects. So, and then he says, you know, the other 6 guys are going to come with me, so come on, let's go, and kick up some money for the kid. Who's got some money for the kid? Talking about Sammy.
Yeah.
Because Sammy's got the numbers racket. So here it is. Let's take a little watch.
Yeah, right.
Let's
All
watch
you
it
do is
together.
fucking eat all day. All I do is eat. Jimmy, look at you.
Oh, wait a
You
minute.
look
Hold
like
on.
you
Before we
swallow.
get there. So
Jimmy Valentino.
Jimmy Valentino's in it. So let me back up a little bit, Lisa. So he makes everyone cough up a couple of bucks for the kids, and then he tips Sammy $20.
$20.
Because he says, hey, I started off as a numbers runner, and I like you. You remind me of yourself. Remind me of myself. And he gives the guy $20. And then Jimmy comes out and he starts. So we want to talk about Jimmy Valentino. We love you, Jimmy. Thank you for all of your support. And just, by the way, man, you lost a ton of weight. You look fantastic.
Great.
You look great. You look absolutely great. He's from Gravesend. Really brings some authenticity to the role. So let's watch what the exchange between him and Bo Detail.
Pizza, me? Why don't you look in the fucking mirror, Jimmy? I've been going to the gym. Sammy, how do I look?
You look great, Santo.
Yeah, who are you kidding? You're just buttering him up for another 20. And you know what? You're gonna
Here
get
you
another
go.
20. Here, thank you,
He
my
told
son.
Jimmy
You
he looks
had
like he
good
swallowed a whole
eyesight.
pizza.
Who's this young man?
It's Robert.
What the fuck is a Robert?
Robert.
Bobby, you mean?
I like Robert.
Robert.
All right,
Okay,
Robert it
tell you
is.
what, you're gonna get a 22.
So it's a great scene.
Robert has some amazing eyebrows. I think.
Oh, really?
I think the way you compliment eyebrows is you say that the eyebrows are on fleek and.
Robert's eyebrows are on fleek.
On fleek.
I didn't notice that.
If there was a car or something in the scene, these are the things that I noticed. Nice eyebrows.
So we're going to cover eyebrows going forward on TGP, and Robert's right now on top of the list.
Next episode, covering the eyebrows of Gravesend.
Gravesend eyebrows. So then after, I like how Jimmy just immediately, because you can tell he's close. I mean, if you remember, Jimmy V is really close with Santo. He's the one who beat Harold to death with a hammer.
Yes.
So poor Martin. Guys in the pool, Martin Chaddock, right?
Yes,
and
Martin.
You remember that he was, oh man, he was
He's
Margot's
the one that beat
ex-boyfriend.
Margot. Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Jimmy
not
V
hitting. He's not hitting a lady ever again.
So Jimmy V, he can give Santo a little bit of junk, right? Because he's one of his main guys.
Yeah, they have good rapport.
I mean, he was the one who brought the Brooklyn brand sweatsuit down to Florida. So come on. Good to see you, brother. So at 14 minutes and 17 seconds, we're shooting off some fireworks back in front of Benny's house.
Yes, we're back in Brooklyn. See a Brooklyn brand sweatsuit there.
Hey. I love cakes. They're expensive, though. So we're watching fireworks together, okay? So that's nice. But one of the reasons I want to bring this up is because it shows a young man here named Christopher Antonella, and he is he's Anthony, right? This is this young man, really a fun young actor, something new. And I believe William discovered him at L&B Gardens. We're friends with his dad, Ralph, on the internet, and just really, he's a real Brooklyn-looking kid. And later in the scene, he helps out, but Benny kind of relies on him on the street.
Yeah, because we see Harry up on the roof, and he's all hopped up on the angel dust.
Yeah, I don't have that.
And he asks Anthony to go up and get him and get him down because the police show up.
Yeah,
and the police try to break up the fun and break up the fireworks. And I think it's cute because the police officer says, "All right, everyone can go home." And Benny's response is, "We are home."
Yeah, we are home. Yeah, that was a great line. Yeah, and you start to feel bad, and you realize the angel dust problem, the drug problem in the neighborhood is now literally at his doorstep. You know what I mean? Because
it's literally up on the roof.
Harry says, "I can fly, Benny. I can fly."
Right.
And that's what that shit makes you think you can fly. You know what I mean? He's like,
and as we've learned from Big Carmine, a lot of people in Gravesend can't fucking fly.
Yeah, so we know how to do that. So no, and Anthony was the one who got him down.
Yeah, he got him down.
So he took care of it.
Neutralized
Good job,
the situation.
Anthony. Thank
Way
you.
to show up.
Yep.
And nice Brooklyn brand t-shirt.
Yeah, nice Brooklyn brand. Good hair.
You wear it well. Yes, great hair.
So 1645, Gaetano's sitting at the bridge, and he's drinking Johnny Walker Blue, and he's getting fucking hammered. And
you're doing it, and he's having a bit of a flashback memory.
He is. So first of all, Johnny Walker Blue is an expensive bottle. You know, this is not a cheap bottle of scotch that he's drinking, and
that's how Gaetano rolls, gangster style.
Of course, right? He's pure, so he's just drinking it, and he is just, like we said, he is just ripped at his core, right, of who he is. And he goes in, like you said, that memory of him walking the yard with Tough Carmine.
Yeah, and that whole conversation that he had with Carmine out there is really coming back to him. Do we have any of that?
No, we don't have any of that. But he talks, basically, Carmine talks about being on the street and that all of these rats out there, they don't have anything. Right. And that he's doing 6 years, and it's not a real test. But when he gets back,
like, that's not even a lot of time.
No.
He's like, that's not a test for you.
And so when you get back on the street, you remember this conversation. So he's like, this loyalty thing, and of course, you know that they had that.
Talking about keeping your mouth shut.
Yeah, keeping your mouth shut. See, that's what it was. Did Tough Carmine? Is that when he took him? He told him the story. He took the guy to the fish market.
Yes, and So he's the opening part of that story. Carmine, it brings two of his guys down to the fish market, and he's like, "You see why these fish are in here? Do you know why these fish are dead? Because they couldn't keep their mouth shut. Closed." Yeah.
Couldn't keep their fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, so that was the lesson.
So the next morning, Benny is at the yacht club, and he gets a visit from Travato. And he tells him that he's used to spend summers up there at Sheepshead Bay, and that he's opening up some new dealerships. And Benny says that he wants to buy some real estate in Florida, and he talks about how Charlie's getting out, and that Travato says that he has a relationship with every boss but Caesar.
Yeah. And it just goes to show that Caesar's just not a very inclusive type of guy.
And then he's going to send him a new Buick from one of his dealerships.
Yeah, they were talking about Buicks, and he's like, "You know what? I got a great car. I'll send it up to you. How about I gift wrap it?"
He's got a real estate guy there, and he says, "I'm going to introduce you to Jeremiah. Yeah, and he's going to help you shine some of that Brooklyn Scaro.
Yes.
Otherwise, clean some money.
Yes.
And he introduces to the guy, and he goes, "Yeah, let's get together." And Benny says, "Hey, I need another warehouse for my fireworks." The guy loves fireworks, right? Simple guy. So 23 minutes on the timeline, there's a sit-down with Nikki, Remo, and Baldy, a call from Domnic and his crew. And it's like in some machine shop or something like that. And this, Lisa, I actually do have some of this scene. And it's a pretty intense scene. So let's play. Armand Assante.
Armand Assante does a great job.
He goes off.
And so does Garry Pastore.
He does.
Oh, well, boys. Now you got to be my age. More airplanes. Speaking of which, who runs the show now?
You're Baldy.
Who's calling the shots?
Who's calling shots?
You're looking at Vinny.
And so he's very much like his sister. He's like, "Why are you looking at him?"
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The
Good catch.
Yeah.
It's you. Never mind. See, here's the thing. I'm in
I guess
Florida
those two are always
now.
looking at each other for answers.
I don't know what people think. I don't know what you think. Maybe I'm
So
speaking in
he goes on. He's like, "Have I lost my hold here?" And then
hold?
he talks about how Nikki was there 20 years ago, saving lives, right? And he really brings it to Domnic, and he was like, "I want things to go back to the way they used to be, and until I feel." Do I have that? Yeah, I do actually.
Because you know my
like this
dad in New
delivery.
York. You were there. You were riding the wheel. You were riding the big fucking wheel. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
That's so easily we forget, you know? You know where I was?
Here.
Where the fuck were you? I was here. I was saving lives, and not once or twice. How about 100 fucking times? How about 100 fucking times?
Gary doesn't back down. Excuse me, Gary. Domnic doesn't back down. He leans in.
We're going back to the way it was. And when I feel the respect I once had from you and this crew, and when I say feel, I want to feel.
That's where I like to feel my support too.
Come on now. All due respect, I don't know who's chirping in your ear,
So I think it's.
but I love you more
And
than
I love you
anything.
more than
I love
anything.
you more than anything.
So this is a great scene. So Domnic knows he might not walk out of this meeting, right? Like that's kind of almost where it's at. And you could feel that. And then he's like, I love you more than anything. And I don't know who's been chirping in your ear. And I just think that was just great because we already know it's Rose.
right, exactly.
And then he says that I want things to go back the way they were too. So basically he's like, until I feel comfortable with you guys are kind of on notice right now. So it's an interesting scene.
All right, so the next scene, we see our old buddy Ryan back from the skating rink, and he is knocking on
Rosemary's door.
Rosemary's
that's right.
door. He is greeted by Tina, and she says she doesn't want to see you. And he's like, I'd really like to talk to her. And she's like, hang on a minute. And out comes Rosemary in a lovely pink Brooklyn brand sweatsuit.
Yeah, she's wearing a nice little tracksuit.
Yeah. I think I'd look good in that color.
Yeah, of course you would, honey. You look good in everything.
So Rosemary comes to the door, and she just says, what do you want, basically? And he just says, I'm sorry, and I want to talk to you. And she's, I don't need your friendship, basically. And she basically just denies him and shuts the door in his face. So off he goes there. So now we're over watching Benny sitting on his stoop. And
oh, yeah,
he's
funny.
having a memory of the popped fire hydrant on a hot summer day. And we flash back to the black and white scene. And he looks up at his father.
Gives him a wave.
Yeah,
everyone's-
gives him a wave, and his dad gives him a cute look. And his dad didn't really wave back. He gave
him a little look. Yeah,
just
he gave him a little
acknowledged
look.
him. And then we see Caesar sitting back at his pool.
Yeah, his wife comes out, and she's talking about going. He says, hey, we can go to Windows on the World Trade Center.
And she's like, ooh, just the two of us alone, like the old times? And he's like, well, there'll only be maybe like a few guys with us. So he's definitely not prepared as a boss to be going back out in the world,
And then she brings up Paulie. She's like, Paulie, you got him so busy. He's running around all the time and everything else you got him involved with. So now we're back in Brooklyn, and everybody is eating pizza at the club. And we're at 30 minutes and 40 seconds on the timeline. And this is actually a really fun scene. So let's play it, and I guess we can talk a little bit about it.
Sure. There you go, my man. Drop it.
That pizza looks good.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna get the new Trans Am.
Really?
Yeah, it looks nice.
Hey.
I like the older model, the 77. From the Smoking the Bandit movie. Now that's hot. If you're gonna get a Trans Am, you gotta get that
Always
one,
got to
right?
be old school.
Are you crazy? Anything faster, my mother will have a heart attack.
Why?
His mom's always so nervous. I mean, she beeps you, 4 times a day?
See, do you see
It's
his
insane,
eyebrows?
Rob. You have no
Robert's
idea
got
what
some
I
good
did.
eyebrows.
So I'm going to pause just for a second. So I just want to talk about this. Is really fun writing. And again, Gravesend's a family affair, right? So Frank Mignano is Frank Brandon Mignano. This is Frances Mignano's son. We talked about it a little bit in the last episode. I mean, Frances, she's a Brooklyn Gravesend legend. She sings the song Gravesend, for crying out loud.
Great song.
Great song. Her son is like a professional poker player.
I was
He's
going to
a
say, doesn't
professional
Frank
actor.
play cards?
This guy's great. And so I love how he brings up the new Trans Am. I liked the new Trans Am, and a lot in this day and age. This is why Benny's car is so hot in the late '80s, because that was the fastest production car. This was a very slow time for automobiles. Even like the Olds 442 was a real dog. So like the new Trans Am, he's like, it's not, he's like, my mother's gonna get mad at me if I have the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. So I thought that was really cute and also endearing, because don't forget, Nino's the one who said we're like brothers.
Yes.
Right? In
Yes,
the last
he's got
episode.
that family mindset.
I wish I could get a beep from my mom.
Yeah, and he's complaining about how his mom's always paging him.
It's a blessing.
Sammy says, look at it as a blessing.
Yeah, you're right, Sammy.
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, I forgot to tell you. My mother invited you over for Sunday dinner.
Hey,
You gotta come by, bro.
Ooh, I want to have
Yeah,
Sunday
I
I
dinner.
want to have
I
Sunday
would love
dinner.
to meet her.
Your mom make a good meatball? Thanks.
So I want to say a couple things about it. So Benny walks up and he says hi to Sammy, and both the guys are like,
yes,
hey.
They're like, oh my God, he's talking to you?
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about something else that Sammy brought up. And he's talked about, because his mother's dead, right? Nancy's died, Son of Sand killed him. And and because Nino's like, you don't know what I deal with my mom. And Sammy says, I would give anything to be able to be with my mom just one more time. And this is, to me, this goes to Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra had this exact same story. I don't know if you know about this, sweetheart, but I forget whose mother it was, and there was some other actor was complaining, and because Frank Sinatra's mother was dead, and he goes, I would give anything to talk to my mother again. And he called that man's mother every week until the day she died.
That's so nice.
Yep, and that's so a little homage to Frank Sinatra here through Sammy's character. I'm not so sure if any of the viewers know about that story, but I thought it caught my attention.
Sure. That's some good Italian writing.
So I love how he invites him over for dinner. Like we said, well, come over. Is Francis making something?
Yeah.
Come on.
I bet you make a mean sauce, not gravy.
So then speaking of that, they're back at Vincent's and they're having the spicy sauce. And Franco and Benny are eating dinner together. And Franco calls out the sauce and says, it's not gravy. He calls it my Nona always called it's sauce, and she knows best.
Yes.
And that's what Benny goes, oh, yeah, she certainly did. And so, I don't know about you. So a lot of different names. So my grandparents were Nani and Nunu. So we got, I know Nono and Nona are also two names that are used
correct.
a lot. So and then he brings up Joe Montana. Because what happens is that they're talking all about the clothing line, and Franco shows them. It's kind of off camera, so you can't see it. But he goes, "Is that the guy from Miami Vice?" And he's wearing a Brooklyn Brands dress shirt, I think. And he goes, "And this is not it. I got more celebs lined up." And he brings up Joe Montana, and then he was like, "Joe, he can't believe it." I mean, every Italian loves Joe Montana, so it was very exciting. It's one of his favorite players, actually. So the next scene, they're at a Florida club. Petey is at the club, and he's snorting coke with a girl.
He's in a cabana.
I mean, I guess it's coke, right? I mean, I would imagine. So they're snorting that stuff in the cabana, and then the girl walks up and pulls the girl out of there, and then two guys come in and go, hey, are you so-and-so? And he sells them drugs right there.
Yeah.
And then Barry walks in with guys and then fucking
beats him pretty substantially. Because as you know, he's not supposed to be selling drugs, so that's against Benny's. Benny's
they
rules
just
there.
lumped him up for sure. And then we go back to Vincent's, where they're wrapping up dinner, and they start. Benny and Franco are walking up the street, and they bump into two guys.
Yes, and they mention that they're friends of Johnny Mad Dog. And Benny's like, well, I don't drop names.
I don't talk about guys.
I don't talk about guys that I know
with people
guys,
I don't
with
know.
people I don't know. Exactly. And then they make some derogatory remark towards Franco. And Benny's just like, you know what? I'm not having it. And flashback to the fight they had as kids.
Because that's what he says. He's like, well, I know who he is. And you're in the city with him? Kind of making an insinuation that,
like, you're hanging out with a gay guy.
Yeah, Benny's gay. And they go to walk past, and he shoulder nudges Benny, and that was all he needed.
That's all he needed.
Boom, boom, boom. He hammers the guy right against the brick wall. It was beautiful.
And even Franco gets his shot in. Like, it's great. I love it.
I loved Mario Cantone. He picks him up and he goes, "It's fucking sauce, not gravy." And he cranks the guy right in the face. So this is just like we were talking about in the last episode. I mean, Franco has heart, right? He's not weak. He's someone who's from Brooklyn, and he understands. And I love how he punched the guy right in the face.
So now the next scene, we see Santo and Jimmy V, and they're walking out of a nightclub.
Oh my God, that's right. This is a really intense scene.
Yeah, and a Lincoln Town car pulls up and basically starts shooting. And it's a group of black fellas, and Santo is hit.
Yeah, it's a total shoot, a drive-by shooting, right?
Yep.
Going up. So we can assume this is Jimmy V's retaliation, right? So
no, Jimmy Beans.
Jimmy Beans, thank you. That's right.
Jimmy Beans retaliation.
Jimmy V's walking out with Santo, and the guys come out of the Lincoln Continental, and they're freaking shooting. They shot Santo like. The other guy got killed, right? Was it Sandy?
They killed
Sandy Blue Eyes.
Sandy Blue Eyes.
They freaking killed him right on the street, and then Santo gets hit pretty bad. And Jimmy, he's like Sandy. He freaking lights these guys up, and they start going. So, really intense scene. We don't know exactly.
We don't know what's happening there. Who's gonna, is he gonna make it? To be determined in the next episode.
And that's it. Guys are getting whacked out. Guys are getting beat up. what is happening in episodes 8
Is
and
he
9.
losing his grasp?
Or
Is it all about to...
Is it getting tighter?
Is this the dark before the dawn?
Is this the darkest before the dawn? There's so much going on in this series. Really fun. I absolutely loved covering it with you, Lisa. And I've really been enjoying watching all of the episodes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thanks for sticking around and watching our episode. If you've made it this far, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe to the audio podcast. We're on all the platforms.
Wherever you listen to podcasts.
Talking Gravesend podcast. We're all over the place.
Hey, and while you're at doing all that stuff, go ahead and make sure you follow the Gravesend Series on Instagram and Facebook. Go ahead and watch Gravesend on Amazon Prime, now streaming on Tubi for free. Really fun platforms, and you just got to get into this show. As you can tell, we are into this show. We only have 2 more episodes, and then we're waiting for the production of episode 3.
Season 3.
Season 3, that's
Season
right.
3. A lot of excitement, lots of things happening. So I can't wait to get to the last 2 episodes to see how this story unfolds.
And then everyone, we want to get some of the cast members on the show. It's time for some of the Gravesend cast members to visit the Talking Gravesend podcast studio here in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Pull up a chair.
Let's dive deep, right? Let's get into the show. Let's get into your filmographies. Let's have some fun. Lisa and I can't wait to celebrate you.
Let's eat a pizza.
All right. Want to send them on our way?
All right. So thanks again. We'll see you on the streets.
As always.
Ciao.
Ciao.